Dear colleagues, Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa, President, Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. I'm very thankful to God and pleased to send you greetings on this World Pharmacists Day 2019. Our team, Safe and Effective Medicine for All, encapsulates what we in Nigeria at this time are fighting for.
Hi, you're welcome. You have just heard from the President of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria that the 25th of September every year is designated as a day we celebrate pharmacists all around the world, World Pharmacists Day. This year we're considering a very important theme, safe and effective medicines for all. Medicines are an important foundation for universal healthcare, and we're going to be featuring activities all over the country on that day, highlighting the roles that your pharmacist plays in ensuring that you get the medicines that you need at the right time, the right dose, and in the right quality. And I will be hosting you to a Facebook and YouTube live event on the 24th of September. That's 24 hours before the celebration begins. We want to use that time to speak to you about some of the things that your pharmacist is doing to ensure you get the best out of your medicines. So I invite you to join me on that day. You can join us on YouTube, PharmaStream TV. On Facebook, PharmaStream TV. I can assure you, you will be informed, you will have your questions answered, so be ready to participate. You can send your questions to us before the day, or you can send it to us right in the comment section when the event is live. We're looking forward to hosting you, and we're sure that it's going to be a unique event. Looking forward to seeing you on 24th of September.
Hi dear viewers, you're welcome, colleagues and viewers. My name is Oluwatosin Caleb Adeyemi, and I will be hosting you to this show in which we will be discussing the theme of the World Pharmacists Day, safe and effective medicines for all. Medicines, like you've just heard, are an important foundation for universal healthcare. In this program, we're going to be discussing how your pharmacist is working assiduously to ensure that you have safe medicines for your use. We're going to take a short break now for a commercial, and we'll be right back.
The family of a corn has been taken hostage by an evil-looking creature.
When Amatem Fort appear, malaria run for cover.
Amatem, thank you.
Amatem Fort against some gel capsules, tablets for adults, and suspension for pikin. Amatem does not eat somebody and are very easy to use. Remember how Amatem Fort against scratch pin to confirm the original and against some gel capsules. Amatem, say no to malaria, yes to life.
You're welcome back. The Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria represents over 16,000 pharmacists in Nigeria and in the diaspora. Now, the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria and a host of other pharmaceutical associations around the world come together every 25th of September to celebrate the uniqueness of the pharmacist. We celebrate the skills, the abilities of the pharmacist, their contributions to society, and all that the pharmacist is doing to ensure that patients all around the world get the medicines to improve their health condition, and people who are healthy remain in good health. So this occasion is not different. By tomorrow, we'll be having celebrations around the country celebrating the pharmacist. My name again is pharmacist Oluwatosin Caleb Adeyemi, and I will be taking you through a short presentation highlighting some of the events that are lined up across the country and also helping you understand who the pharmacist is and also helping you see how your pharmacist is contributing to your good health, both behind the scene and when they're speaking to you over the counter in the pharmacy. Okay, so now I want to start off with the theme of the World Pharmacists Day, safe and effective medicines for all. Like I mentioned earlier on, medicines are an important foundation in universal health. And the reason that is because medicines are the cheapest solutions that have been evolved in medical practice over the years. Medicines are useful because people with chronic illnesses can take their medicines in the convenience of their homes, can go away with a medicine for their child without being on admission. So medicines are a cost-effective for ill health. One of the things we're going to be discussing in this program is to talk about who is a pharmacist. A number of people are parading these days in different kinds of garbs and attires and trying to usurp or perform the role of a pharmacist. How is a pharmacist different from all these usurpers? Number one, the training of a pharmacist. A pharmacist is trained across a wide spectrum of skills, both from natural medicines to the understanding of how affect our body and how our body, works on the drugs. So it's very important to understand that the role of a pharmacist is the role of a specialist. The role of a pharmacist is the role of your healthcare provider who specializes, ensures that they are able to help you get better over the time of your illness, using your medicines, improve your quality of health, get to your healthcare goals in time so you can get better and back on your feet. There are certain words, flowery words that we use to describe ourselves as pharmacists, and one of that is we describe ourselves as the 8-star pharmacist. And as the 8-star pharmacist, pharmacists serve as caregivers. So in all continuums of care, both in the hospital, in the community, and in other areas of care, public health, in health advocacy, in policy making, in the academia, in manufacturing and research, in supply chain and distribution, pharmacists work together in concert to ensure that you get the care you need when you need it. Also, your pharmacist supports you in your decision-making efforts. Healthcare is not by the gods for us. It is actually a collaborative practice between yourself and your care provider. The pharmacist is skilled in ensuring that the decision to take a medicine or to take an alternative is a shared decision-making process. The pharmacist is also a communicator. The pharmacist ensures that all of the prescriptions you get or your use of over-the-counter medicines are supported by important information to reduce risk, to reduce harm, possible harm, and to ensure that you get the best outcomes for the use of those medicines. The pharmacist is also a manager. The pharmacist performs in such roles that work behind the scene to ensure that your medicine gets to you in the best quality possible, especially in a country like Nigeria where there's a dearth of infrastructure and materials. The pharmacist works assiduously to ensure that all of those hurdles are not going to affect the presentation of the best medicines to you. The pharmacist is also a long-term learner. So the pharmacist, over the course of his or her career, will spend several hours ensuring that they can develop skills or sharpen their skills to provide you the best care that is possible. A pharmacist is also a teacher. They ensure that you understand all that you need with regard to your medicines. A pharmacist is also a leader, sometimes a situational leader, but more often than not, especially in Nigeria, the pharmacist takes leadership in care settings to ensure that the patient is given the best care possible, in ensuring that they manage their colleagues, in ensuring that they provide all the information required for their colleagues to also function effectively, the pharmacist is a leader. The pharmacist is also a researcher. So the pharmacist provides enough resources to support the use of medicines, both those that have been long-term in use and those that are innovative medicines that are just coming into the market. The pharmacist supports those activities with enough information to make a success of your treatment. The pharmacist walks through this is a simplified value chain, but it shows you how the pharmacist moves from the point of medicines, research and development, which is usually carried out in industry, in collaboration with academia, up onto the point of learning or licensing of the medicines after clinical trials, and the benefits and the risk have been proven to the regulators, up onto raw materials and inbound logistics, moving the produced medicines from where they're manufactured to warehouses where they're stored in appropriate conditions, and then moved from the warehouses under the supervision of a qualified pharmacist to the different end users. So both in the hospital, in the community practice, and in other specialized locations. All of this happens under the due diligence of a superintendent pharmacist. Now, when it gets to the last point where it is handed over to the user, the pharmacist takes all of the critical decisions at that point to ensure that the right patient is getting the right medicine for the right condition, for the right duration of time, in the right dose, and for the right frequency for the entire duration, and ensuring that the right outcomes are achieved. These are some of the activities that your pharmacist takes to ensure that you get the best quality medicines for your health. Now, we're also going to see in this schematic, I've tried to represent some of how the entire work that the pharmacist does comes together to enthrone an important outcome, which is universal health care coverage. That is part of the Sustainable Development Goals 3, and it's an important public health concern at this time. The pharmacist in research and education performs critical roles in looking for new molecules, new arrangements of even current medicines that are being used to ensure that we can tackle the diseases of the future. Importantly too, your pharmacist is also involved in research to ensure that we do not run out of antibiotics in the nearest future. You must have been aware that there are a number of superbugs now that are emerging. We're going to take a short break now, and we'll be back in a second.
The family of a corn has been taken hostage by an evil-looking creature.
When Amatem fought appear, malaria run for cover.
Amatem, thank you.
Amatem fought against some gel capsules, tablets for adults, and suspension for Pekin. Amatem does not eat somebody and are very easy to use. Remember how Amatem fought against scratch pin to confirm the original, and against some gel capsules. Amatem. Say no to malaria, yes to life.
Hi, you're welcome back. Thanks for staying with us in this program. Now, we're currently discussing how the activities of pharmacists in different arrays of their practice area comes together to ensure that we meet the Sustainable Development Goal 3 of universal health care coverage. We said that the pharmacist is responsible for an important foundation, which is giving us safe and effective medicines where we need them for all. Now, I have mentioned that in research and education, pharmacists are currently involved in the race to beat superbugs that are emerging. Pharmacists are also involved in manufacturing and allied value chain to ensure that medicines that are required in Nigeria are made available appropriately. For example, recently the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria convened a think tank where all of the stakeholders in the pharmaceutical value chain were on board. For example, we had the Central Bank of Nigeria, we had the Bank of Industry, we had the regulators, we had even representatives of the public available in that meeting who also looked in to see how we could expand the production of medicines, locally produced medicines, because they would, of course, have some added value to our economy. So pharmacists are not just for your healthcare, pharmacists are also thinking about the economy and making inputs to ensure that our economy is on the right track. Pharmacists are also working in hospital and administration, because when those medicines get to the hospital, they need to be appropriately supervised so they are not mishandled, misstored or stored in inappropriate conditions that will lead to increased spoilage or lead to abuse of important opioid medications. So the pharmacist is involved in that process, ensuring that the funds that are available for medicines procurement, medicines and vaccines procurement are adequately utilized to ensure we get the best out of that. Pharmacists are also involved in community practice. They're in your community, sometimes not too far from where you work, sometimes not too far from your house, possibly down your street or close to where you currently are. A pharmacist is there providing care, sometimes round the clock. Some pharmacies are open 24 hours a day. Some pharmacies are open within your work hours, but within that time, they're attending to patients, they're consulting with you to ensure that your needs are being met. Some patients find that they are able to communicate better with their pharmacist. I mean, that's an important part of the role the community pharmacist plays. The community pharmacist works with you to ensure that there's a continuum of care, sometimes from your hospital into your community, so that you do not lose track of the goals that have been agreed on by yourself and your doctor. Now, on the basis of all of this is an important foundation, the professional ethics of pharmacists. Pharmacists hold themselves to 4 significant ethical principles. One is benevolence, the desire to do good at all times. The second is non-maleficence, the desire not to do harm to their patients. The third is to have respect for all patients, respect for the autonomy of persons. So they ensure that all patients are respected regardless of their beliefs, regardless of their preferences. All patients get what they agree to get. Okay? The pharmacist is also bound to pursue justice, ensure that regardless of a person's personal standing, they get the care to be in good health. The pharmacist also self-regulates. So the pharmacy profession is important, and it has the society itself regulates the profession by putting some peer pressure to ensure members do what is right and what is fair to their community. Secondly, the pharmacist himself or herself has a number of tools available to them to enable them pursue self-regulation, education, mandatory continuous professional development, including events like compulsory meetings that they have to attend to ensure they get information that is required to practice appropriately. All of these enables the pharmacist to self-regulate and work together to ensure the community is in good health. Now, as a firm base for all of these framework is regulation. Regulation of the product, which is handled by NAFDAC. Regulation of the profession, which is handled by the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria. And then you also have financing, which comes from multi-parties, and you also have the policy environment. The policy environment is actually not just the work of the Federal Ministry of Health, the Department of Pharmacy in the Federal Ministry of Health, it is the responsibility of all pharmacists. So you have pharmacists in public health, pharmacists in academia, who are consistently looking at policies and our political environment and giving suggestions, making recommendations on how to and preferring solutions on how we must take action to ensure that our pharmacy that continues to provide what we have promised to our patients, which is safe and effective medicines for all. Now, how is all of this changing? We currently are in a volatile environment. We have a lot of complexities. There are a number of uncertainties, and there is a number of ambiguity. All of this is brought about by both our political terrain, our economic terrain, and of course, policy flip-flops here and there. It has compounded the issues that we face ordinarily as a profession, which has resulted into net migration out of the country. It has also resulted into increased brain drain. Yes, so we have net migration out of the country. It's also resulted into a pertinent, a widespread lack of pharmaceutical workforce around the country. But that's not to say that we are not rising to the occasion. As the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria continuously works with its partners, the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria is taking action, looking at what the situation will look like in the future and taking consonant action to ensure that those events, we write them before we get there. For instance, we're looking at an increase of almost 300% in the next few years when we begin to see an expansion of the National Health Insurance Scheme. And that including what we perceive might be some private investors, who would be investing into healthcare financing. We expect that there will be an increase in the number of people using medicines. For example, we expect that 1/3 of adults, young adults and up, that's from the age of 25 to the age of about 70 and up, will be on chronic medicines, all of the time. This will present a significant challenge because we'll immediately begin to see increased demand for pharmaceutical workforce. That's the pharmacists around the country, especially in medically underserved areas. Secondly, we envisage that government will still remain the biggest payer in healthcare over the next over the next 30 years until 2050, meaning that the pharmaceutical workforce must find a way to integrate into the health system. That's the National Health Insurance Scheme and of course the state health insurance schemes that are being rolled out. That's very important. And we also expect that with the initiative of the PSN and a number of other stakeholders in the industry, there's going to be a remarkable growth in pharmaceutical demand led by growth in the generic sector. So we trust that it's going to lead into improved access, but with increased regulation and that facilitative regulation now, we expect that the qualities will not be different from that of the brand name products, resulting into safe and effective medicines for all Nigerians everywhere. Now, importantly, an important outcome of all of these predictions is that we will be having a shortage in pharmaceutical workforce. Take, for instance, the recent report by the FIP highlights that our pharmacy workforce is growing by the rate of about 0.5% per annum, right? That's plus the net migration we're having of new qualified graduates. So this is resulting, if you match this with our current population, average population growth rate of about 2.6%, you will see that there will be a continued widening of the pharmaceutical workforce gap, and we must attend to this urgently It's an urgent requirement. We must attend to that. Now, the regulation and policy environment also represents an important pillar that we must get right at this point. We need to begin to look at the regulation of the product and regulation of practice, and begin to find ways that there will be collaboration and facilitative regulation to ensure we're able to deliver pharmaceutical services appropriately, but not in the constrained environment. Also, like I had mentioned earlier on, we must begin to innovate around integrating the pharmacy practice into government payment structure in order to ensure that pharmacy practice will be supported at the same level as we find other healthcare providers being supported in the country. Now, as a roundup, what do we have for you? It's tomorrow. What celebrations do we have for you? So nationally, we're having, for example, this is one of the events for the national celebration. I hope you've gotten a lot of value from this webinar. We want to see your comments in the comment section. Please post your questions there. We had a few questions before we came live. We'll take those questions, but please post some of your own questions in the comment section. It could be from this webinar, it could be from other, it might be a burning issue that you have on your mind. Please post your questions. We'll take them as we round up. Now, what are some of the planned events? So like I mentioned earlier on, this webinar is one of the events that was planned to educate and to inform. Secondly, there's going to be a walk, a health sensitization walk that will start off from Ojuelegba tomorrow. We're going to have a number of pharmacists present, and then there will be a congregation to ensure that we provide some outreach. Well, there's going to be deworming and a few other services that will be provided at the venue. So please, if you're not a pharmacist and you're watching, ensure you share that information. Pharmacists will be doing a number of those activities around the country tomorrow. Now, aside from this central activity, which is happening tomorrow, takeoff is at Ojuelegba on the bridge. There are also a number of state events. For example, some states are going to be on radio, TV, and on the mass media. Some other states are organizing pharmaceutical care events. So they're having outreaches, pharmaceutical outreaches, where they'll be advising you, talking to you about your medicines, helping you with information to improve your use of medicines and to improve your health outcomes. Now, so those are some of the activities that are planned. Now, I think we're beginning to get some questions, and we will take them. Okay, so we had, before this event started, we had a question about, this came in from Henry. It says, how do pharmacists, obviously he seems to be a young pharmacist, he says, how do pharmacists contribute to policy in health? And is there a way young pharmacists can be mentored into this aspect? So how do pharmacists contribute to policy in health? So there are currently two ways you can contribute to policy making in health. One is through the Department of Pharmacy, the Directorate of Pharmacy in the Federal Ministry of Health, right? They are the pharmacist mouthpiece concerning all policies regarding health. Now, aside from that, the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria is the mouthpiece, the central mouthpiece for pharmacy interests across the country. The Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria is able to harness all proposals, all your thoughts about pharmaceutical policy. If you put them together and present them to the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, you can send them either via email or in hard copies to the National Secretariat, where it's going to be perused, and of course you will be invited to give your position. And when those positions are critically assessed, of course you will also be a part of those who will take those policies forward. These aside, advocacy and education remains the fulcrum around which policy revolves. Advocacy, education, and research. Advocacy must be informed, so it relies on research and outputs from research to determine what is the best outcomes and what is the best channel to get to those outcomes. And those are the channels through which you form those policies, educate the policymakers, including those in Federal Ministry of Health and those in the society. And then we push for the Federal Ministry of Health to propound those policies or adopt them if you have already written up a test manuscript for that. And then that results into the formulation of a new health policy. Now, how can you be mentored into that? So currently we do not have any formal mentorship platform for that, but I assure you, whichever state you're in, if you connect with some of your state significance, for example, the state office, they're consistently engaging with the state Ministry of Health and other members. So that's one way that you can get to contribute to health policy. Another question came in from, this question is from @RitaNG. It says, is there a role for pharmacists in other technical groups to participate in research and education? Of course. The Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria has a journal called the Nigerian Journal of Pharmacy. And the Nigerian Journal of Pharmacy takes research from every facet of pharmacy, but those in manufacturing, those in supply chain, those in public health, academia. It's not only academia, okay? So those pharmacists in hospital and administration, pharmacists in community practice, all of them continually contribute. So if you need some mentorship along the lines of research, please send the pharmaceutical, send an email to pharmacyjournal@yahoo.com. Again, it's send an email to pharmacyjournal@yahoo.com. Okay? We'll take your questions and then we'll be able to give you more input on how you can also get mentorship on research in your practice area. Now, this question came in from Leye. It says, how do we cross the workforce human resource gaps and the skill gaps evident in our new graduates? This is a question that always comes up. Okay. Now, with regards to the gap in the human resource for health, I'm aware that the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, immediately they got the FIP report of 2018 about the workforce survey, started work immediately. There was a committee that was set up to look into the recommendations of the FIP, and I'm currently aware that the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria is currently working with the FIP's group, to resolve some of those issues. I know some of them have to do with regulation, some of them also have to do with financing. So once a number of these solutions are proposed, I'm sure we'll begin to see implementation in that direction. For instance, in the recent few years, there have been more schools of pharmacy that have been brought on board, and this has resulted into a slight increase in the number of pharmacy graduates that are being reported by the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria annually. Okay. Now, you said, how do we close the skill gap that is present in new pharmacists, that's young pharmacists? Okay. One of what you can do is education. The pharmacy education in the formal pharmacy education prepares the pharmacist to become more highly skilled in the different areas of practice, but does not give all that the pharmacist requires, which is why the pharmacist is a lifelong learner. So we must not assume that every pharmacist who comes off, who graduates from school is all set. They do not need any other thing. There is some of what they're responsible for, personal development, but there's that part that you as their preceptor, you as their senior colleague is responsible for. Educate them and help them to upskill in the areas that you have determined that they are not as skilled in. Okay, now we've taken the question on World Pharmacists Day event, and with that we want to say thank you for being a part of this broadcast. We do appreciate your time. We don't take it for granted, and we want to thank our producers, the crew, media team. They've been fantastic all the time we've been preparing for this. If you know what they did to me, I'll tell you in the comment section. I also want to appreciate the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, led by pharmacist Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa, FPSN. Has been a remarkable leader, and I want to also appreciate all of the NEC members, all of the members of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. Thanks for making pharmacy fabulous. God bless you and have a wonderful day.
Malaria? Lock it down. Lock down malaria with Lockmal Combi. Lockmal quickly and effectively clears malaria parasites from the body and makes you malaria-free. Lockmal Combi, a brand of artimethyllumethantrine, comes with 12 bonus tablets of Emzor paracetamol. Lockmal, lock down malaria and feel even better.
The family of a con has been taken hostage by an evil-looking creature.
When Amatem fought appear, malaria run for cover.
Amatem, thank you.
Amatem fought against some gel capsules, tablets for adults, and suspension for Pekin. Amatem does not eat somebody and are very easy to use. Remember how Amatem fought against scratch pain to confirm the original and against some gel capsules. Amatem. Say no to malaria, yes to life.